Fellas, good morning. Good morning. All right. It's always good to be on the National Men's Prayer Call. Got the call, if you will, from Benny Franklin last week. I said, man, you already know the answer, man. So let's just get this thing on the books. So we're talking about something that I think is extremely important in the topic of emotional mastery. And it's something that I think typically has not been discussed in the circle of men and manhood. But I will say this: if you allow yourself to open up your heart and your mind, it's easy for us to open up our mind, but I want you to open up our heart. I mean, we're talking about emotional mastery, right? So let's open up our heart today, because here's what I'm going to tell you. If you can understand what I share with you this morning in regards to this message about mastering your emotions, this is not can be, this is a game changer for you when you come to not just understand it, but receive it. Two different things. I can understand something, but I may necessarily have to accept it for myself. But if you understand and receive what I'm going to explain today, it is an absolute game changer for your life. So the main point I want to make today is this: your ability to master your emotions will determine your destiny. Your ability to master your emotions will determine your destiny. Okay. Now, decisions, I would probably say that when we talk about the decisions that we make every single day, and we make a lot of decisions are extremely important. I'd probably go as far to say that the decisions that we make on a minute by minute basis is probably the most important determining factor for our lives. Everything is about decisions. All of life is about decisions. The results that we get in our life is based on the decisions that we make in whatever aspect of life. The outcomes that happen in our life is as a result of the decisions that we make. Wherever you are right now is as a result of an accumulation of the decisions that you've made up to this point. And where you will be in the future will be determined by the decisions that you make from here forward. And we make decisions all the time. Again, decisions are probably, I would argue, the most important determining, influencing factor for where we will be in our lives. And we make thousands of them daily. They are extraordinarily important. Decisions determine our destiny. Okay. Now, here's the challenge. If these decisions are so important, the challenge is this. The challenge is, as men, being able to make decisions that are consistent with the men that we desire to be and that we've been called to be. That's the challenge. Is actually making the decisions in our health, our wealth, and our relationships that are consistent with the men that we desire to be and that we have been called to be. Because let's be real, we're making decisions oftentimes on a daily basis that is not consistent with who we have been called to be or desire to be, or we make decisions every day that we know don't serve us well. So that's the challenge: is how do we make these decisions that are consistent with the person that we desire to be? Because those are the three areas of our life that we really care about. It's our health, our wealth, and our relationships. We make decisions in our health. We eat that stuff we know we ain't supposed to be eating. Real talk, right? We make decisions on I was supposed to work out, but I didn't work out. That was a decision, right? This is in our health, in our wealth. We buy that thing that we know we shouldn't have bought. We didn't invest when we know we should have. We didn't start the business when we know we should have started the business. We didn't do something for our business when we should have. We did something for our business that we should not have done. And in our relationships, we may be doing things that might be causing some separation and hurt in our relationships, but we do them even though we know that they don't serve us. And we get that feeling. We feel like a failure. We feel guilty. We feel shameful. We feel like we don't live up to our potential. We get this feeling like, by now I should at least be doing better than what I did in the past. I'm 40, 50 something years old. Why can't I get it right? And listen, I know exactly how you feel because I've been there, right? Still make decisions that I'm like, you know what? I know I could have showed up a little better right there. I know I could have showed up better. So if the decision-making process is so important, and the challenge is, how do we make decisions that are consistent with the men that we want to be and have been called to be? We need to know, how does the decision-making process work? How does it work? What is the anatomy of the decision-making process? Because if we can understand it, to be forearmed is to be forewarned. So if I can arm myself with how it works, maybe I can get better at making these decisions consistent with who I want to be. Okay? Because see, here is the interesting thing. This is how we think. We think that we are logically making decisions every day. We think as men that we are logically, strategically calculated, making decisions. I made this decision because the wind was coming this way, and so I went that way. The reason why I did this was because this, that, and the other. And we think we are logically making decisions. I heard a pastor the other day say, the relationships that we have with our spouses is psychological. He said it's psychological. He said, because one person is psycho and the other one is logical. Now, see, we sitting here thinking we the logical ones. We're making the logical decisions, right? And that we almost get offended if somebody say, man, you emotional, like you making these emotional decisions. You almost offend a man, right? But here's what I came to the conclusion of about whether we are constantly making logical decisions. Here's the conclusion I came to. We're not always making logical decisions, because if we were always making decisions logically, then we wouldn't continue to make decisions that don't serve us, because that in and of itself is illogical. So that means that every decision we make is not based on this great logic, because we know that eating that thing ain't gonna serve us, because we know that doing some of these things won't help us, because we know that the decisions we make in our relationships may not bring about a fruitful relationship, but we still do it. Therefore, logic is not part of what's making our decisions. Guess what the other part of that is? It's emotion. It's emotion. The reality is this: when you look at the anatomy of the decision-making process, beliefs determine behaviors. Okay, I can't hear you, but I want you to say it. Beliefs, say beliefs, determine behaviors. Okay, that's big picture. Our beliefs determine our behaviors, and those behaviors will determine our outcomes. So when you look at the decision-making process, these beliefs, which are defined as your consistent thoughts and feelings. You follow me? Now, when I say feelings, I'm going to use the word feelings and emotions intertwined. Okay. So your beliefs are your consistent thoughts and feelings. We say we believe in God. That means the thoughts that we have about God, we also feel that He's present with us. The atheist says, I may think about the concept of God, but I don't feel like it's real. Do you follow me? So beliefs plus feelings, thoughts and feelings is what our beliefs are. And when you look at those thoughts and feelings, those beliefs, those things influence the decision. And those decisions means we take action or inaction, which by the way is an action, and leads to a result. So beliefs, which are your thoughts and feelings, leads to a decision, which leads to an action, which leads to a result. Therefore, that decision-making tree, which has been defined by science already, says that it is our thoughts and feelings that determine our decisions. The reality is our emotions and feelings drive our decisions, because here's the deal. Every decision you make is either to feel good or to not feel bad. Every decision you make, think about it, is either to feel better or not feel as bad. Right? In your health, you want to feel what that thing tastes like. You feel hungry, so you eat. Feel good. Or, yo, that workout's going to hurt. I don't want to feel that. Right? In your wealth, right? I bought that thing to make me feel good. I bought that thing to make me feel like a boss. I bought that 3-piece suit so I can feel bossed up. Impulse buying. People oftentimes feel bad, so then they buy something to try and feel better. I feel anxious, so I don't make the call for my business. I ultimately feel like the business isn't going to succeed, so I don't take action. And the same decisions happen in our relationships, right? So every decision we make is triggered by an emotion or a feeling. Every one. Because here's what I realize. People do the things that they do because they feel like it. We do what we do because we just feel like it. Right? Every person is trying to either feel better, feel good, or avoid feeling bad. And I'll prove it to you. When you go back to Genesis chapter 3, this has been going on since the beginning of time. Genesis chapter 3, at the fall. Think about it. Adam and Eve had everything they could possibly want, and made in the image and likeness of God, meaning that this is the human form of God. Had everything they needed. And Satan convinced Eve, Satan convinced humankind that if we ate this apple, if we did this thing, if we went after this thing that's external from us, he said, you will be like God. And that was so intriguing to Eve. It was like, man, if I do this thing, I will be like God. Can you imagine that feeling? And here's the amazing thing about the whole thing. She's now convinced that if I do this, I will be like God. I can feel like God. I will have the wisdom of God. And here's the deal. The whole time, she was already made in his image and likeness. Already. All she had to do was trust and take God for his word of who she was, that she didn't need to go after an apple to be and feel like him. All she had to do was trust who he said she was. Because here's the deal. We've been chasing apples to satisfy an emotional hunger ever since. We've been chasing the apple of money so that we can feel significant. We chase the apple of food so we can get that taste and feel better. We chase the apple of infidelity so we can feel validated. We chase the apple to try to satisfy a hunger that was already put in us by God, that if we just trusted would not dictate our decisions that don't serve us. Here's the thing. The whole time, all we had to do was take God for his word of who we really are. We've been chasing apples to satisfy an emotional hunger that ultimately was already put in us to be satisfied if we just believe and receive it. It was already equipped in us. Therefore, the key to emotional control is understanding that it's nothing external from us that we have to rely on to satisfy our emotion, but that our emotions are controlled by our choice to choose to believe and receive that with which is already there. How many people remember the show Beverly Hillbillies? I know we got some brothers on here remember that old school show Beverly Hillbillies. That's right. Yeah, raise your hand. I know. Listen, you might look at me and be like, how you know about some Beverly Hillbillies? I knew about some Beverly Hillbillies. We ain't gonna get into it, but I watched it with my folks. Here's the unique thing about the Beverly Hillbillies. If you never watched it, it's a show about a family that was poor for so long, ended up realizing they've been sitting on oil because old Jed went out there to go search for something to eat. He shot, missed it, hit the ground, bubbling oil came up. Here's what's interesting about the Beverly Hillbillies. I ask you, for how long were they poor and for how long were they rich? Because you see, they had only recognized they were rich at that time that happened, but they had been sitting on oil the whole time. See, here's what I have to tell you is that we have already been equipped. We've been sitting on the oil the whole time. We've been made in his image and likeness the whole time. And here's what's unique. God don't need anything outside of him to satisfy an emotional hunger. And if we are made in his image and likeness, we have the capacity to realize who we are and know that I don't need this apple in order to satisfy my emotional hunger. So here's what I'm here to tell you. You're already sitting on oil. But here's the deal. The oil don't matter if you don't receive it and recognize that it's there. It's there. So here are the things I need you to do. Actions I need you to take. One, you got to read the word because the word is the truth. The word says that the oil is here. See, we all walking around sitting on oil, but don't even realize it or recognize it. It's pointless for the oil can't do anything if we don't know that it's there and recognize it's there. I can have the key to unlock a whole lot of stuff, but if I don't realize that it's in my pocket, even though I have it, it don't matter. So we got to read the word of truth to understand what's up in here. Once you read the word, you got to receive it. Like I said, there's more than just understanding it. It's receiving it for yourself. And then the third thing, you got to be reminded of it constantly because the world is going to try to convince you need apples to satisfy your emotional hunger that then dictate your decisions and therefore your destiny. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to read the word. I want you to receive it. And I want you to be reminded of it. Repeat it in your mind every single day. Because I want you to imagine what life would be like if you actually lived in the way of believing what he said when he said, you walk in the image and likeness of me. I want you to imagine what that would be like to walk in that level of power and feel that power, feel that happiness, feel that joy, feel that fulfillment that you have of God. Therefore, you would not need to make decisions that are inconsistent with the person that you desire to be. Imagine what that's like to walk around to where your emotions are controlled because you chose to receive the word that which is already in you. And it therefore triggers the decisions and the actions that are in line with the man that you desire to be and that you have been called to be. Gentlemen, I hope this word bless you today. I'm done.